What's up guys, Mark here. It's been a fairly long time since I made a video. I think it was back in November of last year. There's a few reasons for that. Number one, I've been studying for my degree this year from last September until now. So I've that's been taking up quite a lot of my time. And also I haven't really had that much to make videos on. Now my setup has changed. I'm not in the room I was in. All my desk and that was in my bedroom. It's not anymore. If you want to see a bit of my old setup, in one of my Hackintosh videos I filmed the desk with my iPhone for a bit of the process, so that will show you sort of my monitor setup. I might do a new sort of roomish tour, because in the room now where I've got my desk, I've got 3 screens now. The one I'm looking at is the centre one. My desk is the same, but also in the room I've got another desk with my dad's computer on. We've got a TV on the wall with the PlayStation 3 on it, and speakers on the wall and stuff. So and I've got a little server in the corner. So if you guys would be interested in seeing that, I've got no problem making the video. I can just handy cam it with my iPhone and upload that, so that's not a problem. Now this video I thought I'd do another what's in my dock. I did one, I think it's September 2012, something like that, and lots has changed since then. The apps that I use have changed, and I just think it's quite a neat thing to do. You guys can see what I use. Some of them I use on a daily basis, some of them not so much, some of them are just there for easy access. But I thought I'd do it just as something to do. I'm going to try and do more content more regularly. Now I'm getting near the end of my first year of my degree. I'm going to have more free time. So if you guys have got any ideas of what you want me to do, any tutorials on some software, I'm thinking of doing a VMware video, because I run a VMware ESXi in a VMware Fusion virtual machine, and then use that to create virtual machines, because that's the kind of thing I'm looking to get into for my degree, is virtualization. And I just use VMware Fusion on Mac because it means I don't have to reboot into Windows every time. So if you guys would be interested again in seeing that, then I don't mind doing that. That's one I've been thinking of doing for a while. I just haven't got around to it. But on with this video. Now, as I said, this is going to be what's in my dock. Now, some of these I don't really use a lot, as I've said. Some of them I use quite a bit. Some of them are just there because I use them occasionally and it's nice to know where they are. So, I will start down here. Now, this isn't very magnified. What I'll do is I'll make this a bit more magnified. Just bring this back over. Now, normally I have it about there, but I'll move it up just to make these bigger for the video. This will be uploaded in 1080p as well, which I didn't used to be able to do. I think in the later ones I did, but all my content will now be 1080p. Right, so starting from the left, we've got Finder. Now, if you're new to Macs, Finder is basically like Windows Explorer, but I'd say it's not quite as good. It's a bit more limited, but it does the job. As you see, I've got all my drives here, so it's not actually a Mac Pro, but that's the system definition I'm using. So that's as you can see, the cylindrical 2013 Mac Pro. So there's my Mac Pro, is my SSD. These two are my other SSD, because Windows creates like a 100 meg recovery partition thingy. That's this one. That's my actual Windows installation there. This one's just full of stuff, and then this is my external hard drive, my Mac one, which I've also actually got an unboxing video of on my channel. And then I've got my favourites here, and then there's my time capsule. That's my dad's computer, and that is my server that is in the corner, which doesn't seem to be on. So that's the Finder. It does the job. You make folders and stuff, but not there. That was a bad example. So if I go to my folder, you can make folders and stuff. And I have it set to this kind of layout. So if I go downloads, and then if I click there, then it puts it here, etc. the links, you know, I've got my Dropbox thing here and all this. Copies, another one. File storage, cloud storage. It's quite a good one. I've got about 42 gigs of cloud storage for free, so that's quite a good one. I can do a video on that if you guys want to see it. So that's the Finder. Next we have Launchpad, which I never use ever at all. I used it once in a video. I don't know why, because I don't use it any other time. The only reason I have it here is because when you download things from the Mac App Store, which is here, it will, if you download an app, it will tell you how big the app is and how far along it is in the download process, so I find that quite helpful. Next I've got my web browsers, and these are in order of use. So first we have Safari. Now, some people don't really like Safari. Oh, that's awkward that it's showing the Pirate Bay. Some people don't really like Safari, but it does what I want it to do. I quite like this kind of top sites thing, and it's a pretty fast browser, so I've got no complaints. It suits me perfectly fine. Next we've got Google Chrome, which I use for work. Let's just bring that over here. I'm signed in with my work account, I believe, yeah. So I use this because it means I can access my my work Gmail and stuff without having to sign in and out. As at work we all use Google accounts for everything. Firefox I don't really use, to be honest. I like the new Firefox though, I have to say. This is quite nice. Redesigned tabs, etc. I think it looks quite cool, so I may start using Firefox just to switch things up a bit. I used to use Firefox quite a bit on Windows before Chrome sort of became as widely adopted as it is now. Next I have the default OS X Mail app, which isn't the best in the world. It irritates me sometimes. It doesn't seem to retrieve mail when you click when you click the sort of get mail icon. Sometimes it doesn't seem to do much, but again it works. I don't really send and receive that much email, so it's perfectly fine for me. Then I've got Calendar and Contacts, which Calendar I use a little bit. Contacts I don't really use, but it's just there in case I do need it. Notes I use quite a bit. It's nice to be able to make notes on my computer and they sync to my iPhone and my iPad. Photo Booth I use quite a bit to just play around with when my sisters come over, or sister. Yeah, when one of my sisters comes over, we have a muck about in Photo Booth, so that's always nice and fun. And then I've got my Adobe apps I use. So I've got Dreamweaver when I do some web design. Illustrator I don't really use, actually. I'm going to get rid of that. InDesign I just use for some graphic work, and Photoshop obviously for photo editing. Aperture I'm not going to open this because obviously it's got my pictures in. Aperture I use rather than iPhoto, purely because it's just I might as well. I got it when I had the old version of the software, and then Apple gave the new software to everyone for free if you had the old disc, so I just use that because I can. Citrix Receiver, if I open this just to show you, this is for my college. I'm doing my degree at a local college, and this lets me, if I log in, I hope I spell it right, it lets me stream apps. So I don't really use it at home, to be honest, but if I'm at college, if I take my MacBook Pro to college, I can launch Packet Tracer and Visual Studio and stuff, and it will run in a window on my Mac, so that's quite helpful. Next I've got CyberDuck, which I use to connect to my network storage at work. Express Invoice I'm just starting to use, I do some IT work for people, and it's just a professional way of making an invoice for them. Final Cut Pro I use for editing these videos. I used iMovie to begin with, and now I use Final Cut, so I will be using that to edit this video once it's done. Handbrake I use for converting videos. So you open this, you put in a video, and it will export it to either MP4 or I think it's M4V. So I use that if I if I want to rip a DVD that I've got, or if I download something and it's in the incorrect format, I can use that to convert it. iBooks I don't ever use, I get rid of that. iTunes is obviously for my media, music, movies. I don't really use it for movies. I just play them with VLC, which I'll talk about when I get to it. But yeah, I use it for just, you know, stores all my music, etc., all my apps, my phone lets me sync my iPhone, my iPad. So that's my media of choice. Well, I say choice, I don't have a choice because I have an iPhone, so I have to use it. Logic Pro 10, I use a couple of my mates have got, they play guitar, so if they ever come over they use it, and I play piano and keyboard, so we use that if we, you know, have a little jam. I've got the Office suite, which is getting quite old now. I'm quite looking forward to them releasing Office 2014 for Mac or whatever they're going to call it. I just hope it doesn't require 365 because I object to paying monthly for Office. I think that's ridiculous. But so I've got Word, PowerPoint, Outlook. Outlook I've got my college email hooked up to. Excel. Next to that I've got Keynote, which I don't really use, to be honest, because I don't really make PowerPoints. But I have the app, so it sits there with the other ones. Microsoft Remote Desktop is actually quite a good app, to be honest. I'm glad they finally released a new one because the one that came with Office 2011 was terrible. So this just lets me connect to the server that I've got in the corner of this room, and also my dad's computer if I want to do something with it, and obviously I don't want to move over to the other screen. So that does the job perfectly well. MySQL Workbench I use for SQL for my college. I don't know if this is going to work. Oh, it is. Wonderful. I also use XAMPP, which I don't think I have in the dock, but that runs an SQL server for you on your computer, and then you use this to connect to it, and it's obviously it would show up here if it was connected. So that's for MySQL. Oh, and that appears to have frozen. Numbers, which is the iWork version of Excel, so that's just for your spreadsheets. Parallels Desktop, I used to use quite a lot actually, and I used it in one of my, in fact my first video, which was installing Windows 7 in Parallels. I don't really use it that much anymore because I use VMware purely because of it runs ESXi, so I tend to just use that for all my virtual machines now. I do use Parallels occasionally because I paid for it, so I've still got it, but I don't use it as much as I used to. Pages is the iWork version of Microsoft Word, which I actually quite like. I think the new version is quite nice, so I use that occasionally. Skype is for video calls, so I use that with my friends and also with my relatives. Spotify for music streaming, I pay for my Spotify, so I get it on my phone and on my computers. TeamViewer I use for remote support. I'm not going to log in, but I tend to install it on client machines if I'm going to be supporting them regularly, and I can then just take over if they have an issue, especially if they don't live particularly close to me. The Mac App Store, which is pretty self-explanatory, it's like the iOS one. I quite like it. It's quite nice to have them all in the same place, all the apps. So yeah, it does the job. You know, I don't have a massive amount of App Store apps on my computer, but you know, it's nice to be able to look through it every now and again. Oh, let's just get rid of that. System preferences. If you're a Windows user, it's basically control panel, so it's just got all your system settings. You can change them all in here. These ones down here are extra ones, so that allows me, Tuxedo NTFS allows me to write to NTFS partitions for Windows because you can't natively on OS X. Glimmer blocker, or Glimmer blocker, sorry, is pop-up blocker for Safari. Flash Player obviously is Adobe Flash Player, and Fan Control I installed, but I don't think it actually works. I don't know if this actually does anything. No, that's actually done nothing, so that obviously doesn't work. I'm assuming it would if you're on a real Mac, but it doesn't on my computer. Next, I have Text Wrangler, which is kind of like Notepad++, if any of you have heard of that on Windows. It's just a text editor, but it allows you to, an update. It allows you to do a bit, you know, HTML and all that kind of thing. You know, it will separate them all out rather than using Notepad, so I use that quite a bit. Next is Twitter, which I don't really use. I tend to check Twitter on my phone, but it's nice to have the app. Oh, excuse me. it's nice to have the app. I check Twitter occasionally on the computer. uTorrent, which is is my torrent client of choice. I used to use Transmission, but it got a bit slow, so I've gone back to using uTorrent, which I used to use on Windows. So I've got that. VirtualBox is for virtual machines. I use this just to switch it up a bit sometimes. If I'm just making a quick virtual machine, I use VirtualBox. Oh. So that's that. VMware, as I say, I use VMware to run ESXi. So that's this one. I've got a Windows 7 and a Windows 8 virtual machine. This Windows 8 one is what I use to then connect to this to then administer ESXi. And as I say, because of using it for this, I tend to just use it for all my virtual machines rather than Parallels. So that's VMware Fusion. And as I say, I'm going to do a video, I think, on ESXi and VMware Fusion. So look out for that one. And I missed out VLC. VLC is what I use to play all my media. So films. Well, I say all my media. I use it to play films, basically video files, because it supports a wide variety of formats. So you don't have to convert it like you would for, say, iTunes. So that's VLC, and then I've got my application stack. I've got my document stack. I've got my download stack, and then I've got the trash, which if you're from Windows is basically recycle bin. In the menu bar, I'll just go over this quickly. I've got VMware Fusion because it's open, so if I close VMware Fusion, that will go away. I've got my Dropbox Sync, Adobe Creative Cloud for my apps. That's the ScreenFlow that's currently recording. TeamViewer, Citrix Receiver, which I went over. This is iStat menu, so it shows me my hard drives, temperatures, and my CPU load, and also my free RAM. This would be Airport, but I've disabled this. I do have a Wi-Fi card installed, but I've disabled it because it kept connecting even though I told it not to. Time Machine, going up to my time capsule, which is on the top of the unit to my left. Bluetooth, I've got my mouse. My trackpad is currently at work, so that's not connected. Sound, obviously the date, time, my user account, Spotlight, and Notification Center. So that's it, guys, for my What's in My Dock for May 2014. I hope you like this video. As I say, I'm going to try and put a lot more content out than I have been putting out recently, as I've got a lot more spare time than I used to have. So again, I hope you like this video. Thanks for watching. If you like the video, then just give it a thumbs up. It would really help me out. It makes my day. It's nice to know that people are enjoying the content. Leave a comment if you've got any questions, if you want me to do any videos on any of the apps that I've been over. And I'll see you in the next video, guys. Cheers.